Hello, my name is Katie and welcome to the second lesson of CCA Girls in STEM Web Development Curriculum. Last lesson, we introduced you to concept of web development. We set up Replit and we also taught you the basics of HTML. Today, we'll be talking about the structure of HTML coding language. I'd like to introduce you to Isabella, who will be the instructor for today's lesson.
Go ahead and open up the Replit file from the last lesson. Feel free to pause the video and do so. The default file looks something like the screenshot shown on the slide. The default file cramps style and script all onto the HTML page, which is not a good practice of coding. We want to separate CSS styling and JavaScript scripting from the HTML file. So let's make a couple changes. First, we're going to delete the script.js file. We don't need this file until the last lesson of our course, so we will delete it for now. Then we will delete the entire script tag section. We will code in JavaScript later in our course. Now we have an actual blank HTML file. Remember to format all your files this way before you begin coding in the future. Now we are going to go over the tags and elements used in HTML5. So what is the difference between tags and elements? As you can see in this diagram, HTML elements are everything from the front tag to the end tag. This includes both tags. The HTML tag are used to hold everything within one element. Both a start tag and an end tag are necessary for an element to be complete. A proper HTML tag starts with a less than sign and ends with a greater than sign. Here are some common elements used in HTML. The first one is the doc type element. This element should always be on the first line of each HTML file. It defines the document type, which is an HTML file in our case. Next is the HTML element. This element represents the root, which is the top level element of an HTML document, so it is also referred to as the root element. All other elements must be descendants of this element. And the last element on the slide is the head element. And this element contains machine-readable information about the document, like its title, scripts, and style sheets. Here are some more common elements that you will see are often used in HTML. One of them is the meta element. It represents metadata that cannot be represented by other HTML meta-related elements, like base, link, script, style, or title. Next is the title element. This title element's role is to name the page. Whatever you put in between the title opening and closing tag will show up on the tab. Next, we have the link element. This link element allows us to link external files, linking CSS style sheets and JavaScript programs. This will come in handy when we begin coding in CSS. Finally, the body element defines the document's body. This is where we will put all the things that you want to show up on the web page. We just went over 7 of the core elements, but if you're more interested and wish to see a list of other elements, you can check out the reference page on the slide. Now it's your turn to try. Go ahead and edit your HTML file. Try changing the content inside the title tag and see what happens. On the output, there is an Open a New Tab button. We encourage you to see your output in a new tab now, as well as in the future. This is to help you to see what it looks like on a full-screen browser, because sometimes the Replit output screen can be deceptive, as it does not show the full screen. Okay, it's trivia time. Take a few seconds to match the attribute to its description. Nice. The /h1 attribute is an end tag, since it has this / in front of it. The q tag is a start tag, and the p, which is the high, is an element. Next, let's go over HTML image resources. When creating a website, images can be linked to web pages to provide visuals. HTML image elements are defined using the img tag, which holds all of the attributes. The src or source attribute specifies the path to the image. This is required to complete the element. The alt attribute specifies an alternate piece of text for the image, which is optional. Here is an example of an HTML image element. Notice how the image element does not have an end tag. In other words, the end tag of img does not exist. In addition, attributes are assigned to their values using the equal sign, and attribute values are always in quotations. In this example, the source attribute is set equal to the image address of the HTML logo, which is shown on the left below. In some cases where the image source or image address is invalid, alternate text will appear in the image's place to let the user know what the image was supposed to be using the alt attribute. This is shown below on the right. Now, let's talk a little bit about void elements or empty elements. So what is a void element? Well, a void element is an empty element, meaning that its model has no contents. A void element can have attributes, however. Take a look at this list, which includes all the void elements in HTML5. In the next slide, we'll go over void elements in greater depth. Unlike the majority of other elements, which have both start and end tags, void elements only have a start tag. If you try adding an end tag to a void element, you'll get an error. Let's take the img tag as an example, which is used to embed an image into websites. First, notice how the link to our desired image is put inside the img tag after src, which is used to define the path of the image and before the greater than sign. Also, note how there is no end tag. Another example is the br tag, which is used as a line break. This time, we don't need to put anything inside the tag itself, since br doesn't require any attributes. Once again, notice how an end tag is not needed. Now that we've explored void elements, let's talk about HTML5 heading hierarchies. Here are some of the headings that come with HTML. Notice that the sizes are different. This can come in handy when you want to section your information in an organized manner. Great job making it this far into the lesson. Next, we will be going over HTML5 links. Links are very useful when creating websites as it allows us to link one page to another. HTML links are defined using the A tag. This is required to define the element. In addition, the href attribute specifies the destination of the link and is also required in the element. The target attribute specifies where to open the linked document, although it is not needed to complete the element. Here is an example of an HTML5 link element. Notice how the href attribute is included inside the opening A tag, and that the href attribute value is the URL, google.com, which is in quotations. The target attribute is set to _blank. This means that when the user clicks on the link in this example, it will open google.com on a new tab, which is useful in many cases. The content in between the opening and closing tag highlighted in blue, Google link, specifies what the link appears as. Here, clicking on Google link will direct the user to google.com. HTML lists allow web developers to group a set of related items into 3 different types of lists. These lists are unordered lists, ordered lists, and description lists. Let's start with the unordered list, which is just bullet points. As shown in the example, an unordered list starts with the UL tag, and each bullet point or list item starts with the LI tag. Unordered bulleted lists are used when a set of items can be placed in any order. An example is a drink list: coffee, tea, milk. Although the items are all part of one list, you could put the items in any order and the list would still make sense, such as milk, coffee, and tea. The next type of list is an unordered list, which has the same structure as an unordered list, except instead of bullet points, there are numbers. Ordered or numbered lists are used to display a list of items that should be in a specific order. Instead of the UL tag, ordered list starts with an OL tag, and each number starts with the LI tag. An example using the drink list is 1 coffee, 2 tea, and 3 milk. The final list is the description HTML list. In this list, the DL tag defines the description list, like coffee or milk in the example. Common uses for this element are to implement a glossary or to display metadata, which is a list of key value pairs. Using the drink list example, the DD tag defines each term, like black hot drink for the DT tag coffee, or a white cold drink for the DT tag milk. Now we will be going over the last part of this lesson, which is about HTML5 tables. Tables are used on web pages to organize tabular information, or in other words, arrange data into rows and columns. The entire table is contained within the table tags. The rows are defined using the tr tag, and the data cells are defined using the td tag. The header of the table is defined using the th tag, and the caption of the table is defined using the caption tag. Here is a detailed example of an HTML table. The entire element is enclosed with the opening and closing table tags highlighted in red. The caption element, which is highlighted in purple, appears at the top of the table in the example at the bottom right corner of this slide. Notice how the table is divided into 3 sections. The table head highlighted in yellow, the table body highlighted in green, and the table foot highlighted in blue. The table head will always appear at the top of the table. The body will always appear in between the head and foot, and the foot will always appear at the bottom. The inside of the table head has one TR, or table row element. This means that the head part of the table makes up one row. In this row, there are 2 table headings titled Items and Expenditure. Notice how they appear as columns in the example table. The body of the table in this example has 2 table row elements, which means that it is made up of 2 rows. The first row has the table heading of donuts, and it has the table data cell value of 3000. Both table headings and table data elements do the same thing. They both show up as columns in our example table. However, it is better to stay organized by assigning the table heading element to labels such as donuts and the table data cell element to data and numbers such as 3000. We will not go over the next few rows of the table as they follow the same concept, but feel free to pause the video and observe how they appear in the example table. Here are some more examples of the table. The table with all the founders of tech companies is another example of the plain table that we just went over. The table on the left, however, has a row with only one column. This feature can be achieved by using the colspan or row span tag, as shown on the slide.
Thank you so much for watching, and congrats on completing your second Girls in STEM lesson. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to reach out to us at our email or comment down below. I want to thank the following on the production team for all the hard work that went into this lesson. All of the slides and videos in this series are available on our website and in the description below. I hope you join us again in our next lesson on wireframe.